everyone, I'm Summer and this is my channel, Red Lipstick Book Addict, where we like to talk about mysteries, thrillers, romances, so much more, okay? And all opinions are welcome, of course, because here we like to talk about not only why we love to love books, but also why we love to hate them. And today we're talking about Housemaid is Watching by Miss Frida McFadden, and this one is the third in the Housemaid series. So if you've read the previous ones before, then you know that the one who narrating the story, Millie, is the ex-convict that we know and love. Okay, she's got a bit of hair complex, but that's kind of what we love about her. And she just wants to help people, only sometimes she just kind of goes a little bit too far. And then we have Enzo, her husband. Enzo, he's her husband in this book. Enzo is her partner in crime. He also just wants to help people, especially if it's a woman in distress, and he will do just whatever it takes to save somebody, even if it's not exactly approved by the eyes of the law. So in the previous books before this, Enzo and Millie are kind of running from the cops a lot. And in this one, they have finally found their dream home. They've got 2 kids, they're married, they are kind of in a bit of a domestic paradise, or so it seems. Only it turns into what I like to call disturbia in suburbia. Okay, so they get this home, seems like the house of their dreams, and then more and more we start to see this web of secrets that's within this little community. Nico and Ada are Enzo and Millie's kids. So Nico's the son. He's very loud and animated. He loves to play baseball. He's great at making friends. And his sister Ada is the total opposite. She's quiet, she likes to read, she worries entirely too much, and she is a straight A student. Nico and Ada, however, do have one thing in common, and that's that they are not happy about moving away from home. They happen to actually like their tiny apartment that they were in before, and they don't care that their new house is nicer and bigger. It's just not home to them. Millie has a hard time dealing with this because she barely even notices how much they don't like it, because she's just like kind of got her eye on this dream life that she wants for her family. So she's like, if they're unhappy at first, so be it, but they're gonna be happy eventually and they'll realize what me and Enzo did for them. That's what she hopes for. And we meet Suzette. Suzette is this real estate agent who is a snob, and she is shamelessly flirting with Enzo right in front of Millie from the moment that she steps foot into their house to meet them for the first time. Millie's a little bit desperate for friends, however, so she ends up looking past Suzette's flaws, and they end up all going over to dinner at Suzette and Jonathan's house. Then we meet Jonathan. Jonathan is Suzette's husband. Jonathan is seemingly friendly, he seems like a nice guy compared to Suzette when we first meet him. He's a bit of a doormat, and it's embarrassing to watch. Whenever somebody brings up the subject of kids, Suzette says, "Oh, we'll never want kids, no thanks," and then Jonathan gets really uncomfortable. Now that becomes very important later on, so that's a little bit of foreshadowing for you. Jonathan wants kids, Suzette doesn't, and it seems to be a topic of tension for them. So they end up leaving their house, and I do want to show you real quick one scene that stuck out to me when they're at Suzette and Jonathan's house, because I thought it was funny, and it's kind of a good way to show the comparison of like Enzo and Millie and what they know about like a more high lifestyle, classy lifestyle, and they're new to this stuff, and then Suzette is just making fun of them every chance she can get, because she's a snob. So I call this the funny fork scene, where there's like basically this like array of forks, and I wouldn't know which one was for which either probably, and Millie doesn't know which one is which. So I'll just read this part real quick, where it says, "I pick up my fork and spear what looks like a piece of eggplant. I shove it in my mouth and, well, that's pretty good. I'm not about to start crying over it, but this is some really good pasta." "Oh, Millie," Suzette giggles, "you're using the dessert fork." Like, whatever, Suzette, nobody cares. By the end of this night, if I have not stabbed Suzette with one of these forks, it'll only be because I'm not sure which one to use to do it. And I just love that. I love that. I don't know. This book is very funny, by the way, like for a mystery thriller kind of book. It's very funny, it's very cheeky, and I was not expecting this book to be so funny. This made me realize how funny Frida McFadden is, and I haven't really read any book of hers that was really, really funny like this. So I was able to get her sense of humor that she's able to put in her writing from this book. This book is a lot, for it having some dark themes, there's a lot of moments in it that make you laugh. So I really appreciated that. And I read through it quick. It was a page turner for sure. Anyway, back to the story, back to the timeline of events. And in case you didn't know, this is a very spoiler-filled book review. So, you know, I'm gonna tell you pretty much everything. But I'll do it quick as I can. But it's gonna be, if you don't want spoilers, maybe wait till you read the book to watch this video. So anyway, so they're at the dinner house. They're having dinner at their house, and then they leave. You know, Millie's not very happy with how this went, and Enzo is so oblivious. We love Enzo. He's just so oblivious to all the social cues, and he's just like happy he ate dinner. Like, he doesn't really care, and he doesn't notice all the little backhanded comments that Suzette made. In this moment, we get empathetic for Millie because we want Enzo to realize, like, you know, how irritating that is for her. But at the same time, it's also amusing how oblivious that Enzo can be to things. And that comes up a lot throughout the book. Some parts it makes you angry at him, some parts it makes you laugh. Some parts, possibly both. So, anyway. So then, what ends up happening later that's a big event is Nico ends up hitting a baseball or something into this very expensive stained glass window at Suzette and Jonathan's house. Suzette is obviously very upset. Jonathan, I don't think he seems to care as much, but Millie's worried sick because she's like, we could barely afford the mortgage at our house. How are we supposed to pay them back for this window? So it's her idea to get Nico to start doing chores over at Suzette and Jonathan's house in order to pay them back for the window. Little do they know the secrets that are in that house, and we come to find out later. Now, there's also a character I want to mention that's important to the story, and her name is Janice. She is a nosy neighbor, and she's a grumpy old lady. She's a bit of a recluse. She helicopter parents her son, Spencer, to the point that she literally walks him around on a leash like he's a dog. So, she's a very strange lady. And she makes sure to keep Millie up to date on the gossip. And she ends up telling Millie that she sees Enzo over at Suzette's house quite a lot in the late hours of the night. So this makes Millie wonder, is Enzo cheating? Or is he up to something criminal? What is he doing? And that ends up becoming important later on. And so anyway, so basically Nico starts acting very strange after performing chores at the Jonathan and Suzette's house, and he starts getting into fights at school. He starts getting violent. I found myself getting really frustrated with Millie because instead of like asking Nico what was going on, because obviously this is like behavior like that, if it's out of character, it's obviously a sign that like something's happening you might not know about. But Millie just sees it as like he's violent just like me and Enzo, you know, because Millie's very insecure about her past, her criminal activities in the past. She's worried her kids are going to end up having like psychopathic tendencies or something. So she doesn't know what to think about her son. Ada's just lonely. She's not adjusting well to this new life. And Enzo's gone more and more. Millie's blood pressure's through the roof. So there's all these things kind of going on. We could kind of feel the stress just from reading the book. And then everything reaches a fever pitch when one day a dead body is found in Suzette and Jonathan's home. And guess who it is? None other than Jonathan. Millie finds him, and instead of calling the cops, she runs out and she goes home. And Enzo walks in a few moments later, covered from head to toe in blood. So obviously it looks like Enzo did it. And then they hear police sirens, and Enzo's trying to explain himself, like saying he did, whenever Millie confronts him, saying he didn't do it. And Millie's like, the cops are here, just go change. Like, she doesn't want him to go to jail. So he goes to get changed, he goes to get cleaned up. The detective comes in and questions them. And right now it looks like, oh, poor Suzette, you know, her husband, you know, had this thing, you know, he's no longer with us. And, you know, there's been this terrible death that's happened, and it's very gruesome because he was from the neck. I'm trying to be careful what words I use because YouTube's sometimes funny about what words you use. And so yeah, so, and then we find out what really happened. So first of all, Enzo goes to jail, and Ada is crying, and she's like, he doesn't deserve to go to jail. He didn't do it. And Millie's like, well, honey, how do you know he didn't do it? And Ada's like, well, I did. So obviously that is like the biggest plot twist in this, because Ada does not seem like, she seems like the last person that we would think that would do something like this. And then we find out why. Like, why would Ada commit such a violent act? Like, is she a psycho? Like, what is the issue here? That's when we find out Jonathan's big dark secret. You see, when Nico was over there, Nico was at first not bothered much, and then all of a sudden he finds this hidden room under the stairwell. This hidden room, it's kind of abandoned, it's kind of creepy, and it's covered in children's toys. So Nico, being a child, is interested. He starts playing with the toys. Then Jonathan catches him, and Jonathan's like, what are you doing? And Nico's like, oh, I'm sorry, like, I'll put it down, I'll leave. And then Jonathan's like, no, it's okay, go ahead, keep playing. And it gets creepy. Then we find out that basically there's a hidden camera in the hidden room, and Jonathan has been locking children in this room to watch them play with the toys, because he's just a pervert. So that's probably why Suzette didn't want to have kids, I'm guessing. So anyway, Ada finds out because Nico is acting weird, and she misses her little brother. She knows he's not himself, and she's like, Nico, like, why are you acting like this? And Nico finally tells her the truth. He breaks down in tears and tells her the truth. This part is probably the saddest part in the book, because at this point in time, she's like, Nico, you need to tell an adult or something. And he's like, adults just make it worse when you tell them, and we'll just get in trouble. And it's just so sad, because it's like, no, Nico, no, like, you need to tell somebody. Well, Ada decides to take matters into her own hands. Ada goes over there and gives Jonathan a piece of her mind, and it gets a little bit ugly. And then next thing you know, Ada gets locked in the creepy room with the toys, and Jonathan catches her playing with the toys and threatens her, and she grabs a knife that her dad gave her out of her pocket, and she cuts him and runs. Now the part that's confusing is, like, how could he, it doesn't seem like he would have died from that, right? So then we find out Martha, the housekeeper in this, the one that is very suspicious acting around Millie. She always acts like she knows about Millie's past. Martha is kind of like, she's kind of nosy, she's kind of up to no good. Millie gets an off feeling around her when she's cleaning their home, and she doesn't like Martha working for them, but Enzo insists they keep Martha around, you know. Martha ends up being not super important in this, but there is kind of a big thing that happens, so I guess she is kind of important, because guess what? She's the one that is the reason Jonathan ultimately died. So even though Ada delivered the first blow, Martha is the one that finished him off. So those are all of our spoilers. I think that's probably all that I'm going to tell you about the story. There's so much more to unwrap here. Like, this story is so layered, and I love it. I love how complex it is. I love the plot twist. The pacing is, like, it's perfect. I could not put this book down, and the character development is phenomenal. Everything in it is, like, I could see that happening. Do you know what I mean? Like, even though the plot twist, you don't see it coming, it's like, okay, that makes sense, which to me is what makes a satisfying plot twist, when it doesn't feel like you're, like, whiplashed with it. It feels like, oh, how did I miss that? Or, like, you know, there were so many little hints in there. So I'm gonna go ahead and give you my ratings. So the ratings. Okay, so pacing. I'm really nice in this review. Pacing is 5 stars. I give everything, like so many things in this 5 stars because I really love this book. So pacing is 5 stars. I literally could not put the book down, and I found it very impressive that despite how complex the book was and like how many layers there were to the characters and the plot, it still felt easy to read, easy to digest, and not like I had to think too hard when I was reading it. Like it was enjoyable, and it was enjoyable, but it wasn't like too simplified. It wasn't dumbed down, if that makes sense. And the depth was really good, with the plot, with the characters, with the relationship dynamics. Let me tell you, on top of this being a mystery thriller book, it is definitely drama. So much drama. Kind of soap opera, like a mystery soap opera or something. It definitely needs to have its own TV series. Like I would binge watch that. The character development was really good because we got a lot of plot twists within the characters, and I found some of the stuff like with the kids to be really realistic, especially like whenever she talks about the stuff from the kids' point of view. It feels like, you know, like realistic. 'Cause, you know, some writers don't know how to write things from a kid's point of view. Like it doesn't seem like very realistic. But in this, I felt the emotions those kids were feeling. I even was able to relate to some of their experiences and remember what it was like for me when I was in school. And like whenever Ada's getting bullied and stuff, and like the way that she like tries to handle that, the way that Nico tries to handle whenever like he feels like there's some injustice and, you know, he feels powerless. Like it's just, this book, I was surprised, you know, because it has so many tropes in it. It has so many different layers. But one of the things, it really captures like the powerlessness that you can sometimes feel as a child, and also like the intense stress that you can feel as an adult, where it feels like if it's not one thing, it's another. And you can really feel that from Millie's point of view in this. So I would say there's definitely some themes of like adulthood and childhood in this, that are very well done. And then I thought the suspense building was really good, but it was kind of like all over the place. Like it's this thing. And it felt like you're on the edge of your seat and then you think it's done. And no, it's not. Like it's back and forth. But like I love it. And then the setting. Now I really quite like the setting. I don't know why, but lately I have really like had an affinity for like these like horror themed kind of like books or TV shows or movies where it's like something disturbing going on, like in the suburbs, like, you know, like it seems so normal, where like the kids are getting picked up from soccer, like, and you know the dad's getting off from work and the mom's making dinner, but then all of a sudden, you know, it becomes this like whodunit murder mystery. And I don't know why. I guess because of the dichotomy of the two themes, where it's like blissful domestic paradise versus like, you know, all this secrecy and like scariness and murder, and then like those two together, it just creates a very interesting setting to me personally. So I really enjoyed the tropes in the book. I enjoyed the characters. I thought the characters were really compelling. Martha, the housekeeper, was not that compelling to me. I don't think that means the book wasn't good. I think the book was great, but I do just have to throw that in there. Martha, like, literally, like, I thought that was gonna be the main person, you know? It's called The Housemaid's Watching, and she's the housemaid, but she's kind of like one of the least interesting people in the book, in my opinion. But I'm curious to know your thoughts, so let me know what you think. I thought this is a 5-star rating overall, 5 stars. Obviously I can be harsh in my reviews sometimes, but this I really loved. So if you like my content, and if you want to continue to hear me talk about books and continue to give my honest and authentic reviews, go ahead and click the like or subscribe button. And if you've read the book or want to talk about the book, leave me a comment below. All right, thank you. Bye.